Three things happened in the space of a heartbeat. The champagne glass slipped from Maya's trembling fingers. She saw her entire future, her mother's treatment, her apartment, her last chance tumbling through the air toward Alexander Pierce's white suit. And she made a choice that would change everything. Her body moved on pure instinct, diving forward as gasps erupted around her. Her hand closed around the glass mid-flight, champagne splashing across her uniform instead of his clothes. She crashed into his chest, the impact knocking the breath from her lungs. For one suspended moment, they stood frozen, her hand pressed against his suit, his arm wrapped around her waist to keep her from falling, the rescued glass trapped between them. "Well," he said softly, his voice vibrating through her. "That was unexpected." Before we continue, drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Are you Team Maya, or do you think she should have been more careful? Let's see where our viewers are tuning in tonight. Maya's hand shot out instinctively, catching the glass just inches from disaster. Her heart hammered against her rib cage as she straightened up, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. The man before her, tall, devastatingly handsome, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to see straight through her, looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I am so sorry, sir," Maya stammered, gripping the glass so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I don't know what happened. I'm usually much more coordinated." The man's stern expression softened, and the corner of his mouth twitched into something that might have been amusement. "Usually? So this isn't your signature move to get Billionaire's attention?" Maya's eyes widened. She knew who he was now. Alexander Pierce, the tech genius who had revolutionized artificial intelligence and made his first billion before turning 30. His face had been on the cover of every business magazine for the past year, and here she was, nearly drenching him in champagne at the most exclusive charity gala in Manhattan. "I know, sir. I mean, Mr. Pierce. I mean." She took a breath, forcing herself to calm down. "I truly apologize. It won't happen again." She turned to flee, back to the safety of the catering staff area, but his voice stopped her. "Wait." Maya froze. This was it. She was going to lose this job too. Just like she'd lost her position at the diner last month when the owner's son decided to grope her and she defended herself. She couldn't afford to lose another job. Her mother's medical bills were already drowning her. "What's your name?" Alexander asked, his tone gentler than she expected. "Maya, sir. Maya Thompson." "Maya," he repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "You have good reflexes. That glass was heading straight for me. I really am sorry." "Stop apologizing." He took the glass from her hands, his fingers briefly brushing hers. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through her. "How long have you been working for Prestige Catering?" "This is my third event, sir." Maya kept her eyes lowered, very aware that other staff members were watching this interaction with concern. Any prolonged conversation with a guest could be grounds for termination. "And what do you do when you're not saving billionaires from champagne disasters?" Maya blinked, surprised by the question. Guests at these events never engaged in actual conversation with the help. They were invisible, meant to serve and disappear. I work at a diner. Or I did. I'm between jobs right now." She had no idea why she was telling him this. The catering is temporary while I figure things out. What would you figure out if you could figure out anything? His question was strange, personal, completely inappropriate for the setting, and yet something in his eyes made her answer honestly. I'd finish my degree, art history. I had to drop out when my mum got sick. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. But I shouldn't be talking to you about this. I need to get back to work. Art history, Alexander mused, ignoring her attempt to escape. Renaissance. Caravaggio especially. The way he used light and shadow, chiaroscuro, it wasn't just technique, it was raw emotion on canvas. Maya's eyes lit up despite herself, temporarily forgetting where she was. He painted truth, not just beauty, the sacred and the profane existing in the same frame. Alexander stared at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. The sacred and the profane, he repeated softly. Existing in the same frame. Yes, Maya. The sharp voice of her supervisor cut through the moment. The senator needs more wine. Now, I have to go, Maya said quickly, already backing away. Wait. Alexander reached for her, but she had already disappeared into the crowd of guests and servers. He stood there holding the champagne glass, watching her retreat, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, something that felt dangerously like genuine interest. The gala continued for hours. Maya moved through the crowd like a ghost, refilling glasses, clearing plates, trying not to think about the strange encounter with Alexander Pierce, but she could feel his eyes on her throughout the night, tracking her movements across the ballroom. At 11 o'clock, she finally escaped to the service balcony for a desperately needed break. The New York skyline glittered before her, 1,000 lights representing 1,000 lives she would never touch. She was so tired. Tired of struggling, tired of choosing between groceries and her mother's medication, tired of pretending everything was fine when her world was crumbling. Beautiful view. Maya spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. Alexander stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the light from the ballroom. He'd removed his suit jacket, and his white shirt was rolled up at the sleeves. He looked less like a billionaire and more like a man. Mr. Pierce, you shouldn't be out here. This area is for staff only. I own the building, he said simply, stepping onto the balcony. I can go wherever I want. Of course he did. Men like Alexander Pierce owned half of Manhattan. Then I should go. Maya, please. Just stay. For a moment. There was something vulnerable in his voice that made her pause. I'm so tired of fake conversations and people telling me what they think I want to hear. You looked at me like I was just a person who needed saving from champagne. Do you know how rare that is? Despite every instinct screaming at her to leave, Maya stayed. I imagine it's lonely, being that wealthy, never knowing if people like you or your bank account see that right there. He moved closer, and she could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. Everyone else would have said, I must be so happy, so blessed. But you understand, loneliness doesn't care about tax brackets. They stood in silence for a moment, two people from completely different worlds, connected by honesty. Why did you drop out? Alexander asked finally. To take care of your mother? Maya nodded. Stage 4 cancer. She's going through her second round of chemo. The hospital bills. She shook her head. I shouldn't be telling you this. Why not? Because you're Alexander Pierce and I'm nobody. This isn't a fairy tale where the billionaire saves the struggling girl. What if I don't want to save you? He moved even closer, and Maya's breath caught. What if I just want to know you? The intensity in his eyes made her dizzy. This was insane. This whole situation was impossible. But when he reached up and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, she didn't pull away. One night, Alexander whispered, give me one night where we're not a billionaire and a waitress. Just Alexander and Maya. Two people who understand loneliness. Every rational thought told her to refuse. This was dangerous, reckless, completely inappropriate. But Maya was so tired of being responsible, of being careful, of carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Just for one night, she wanted to be someone else, someone who could take what she wanted without thinking about consequences. One night, she heard herself say, just tonight. His smile was devastating. Just tonight. What Alexander Pierce did to Maya that night wasn't what anyone would expect. He didn't take her to his penthouse or shower her with gifts. Instead, he took her to an all-night diner, one where nobody would recognize him, and they talked for hours about art, life, dreams abandoned, and hopes hidden away. He told her about the pressure of running an empire at 32, about the loneliness of success, about how money solved every problem except the ones that mattered. She told him about her father, who had built and lost a business when she was young, about the lessons in integrity he'd taught her before he died. She told him about her dreams of working in a museum, of bringing art to people who thought it wasn't for them. And then, as dawn approached, he asked if she wanted to see his favorite painting. It was in his private collection, in his penthouse. They both knew what the invitation really meant. Maya said yes. What happened next was tender, passionate, and achingly real. For a few hours, they weren't a billionaire and a struggling waitress. They were just two lonely people finding comfort in each other's arms. When Maya woke up just after sunrise, Alexander was still asleep. She lay there for a moment, watching him, memorizing his face. Then reality came crashing back. Her mother had a doctor's appointment. She had a shift at the catering company. This beautiful, impossible night was over. She dressed quietly, not leaving a note. What would she say? Thanks for the magical night? This wasn't her world. It could never be her world. As she slipped out of his building into the harsh morning light, Maya Thompson made herself a promise. She would never look back. She would forget Alexander Pierce and return to her real life. She had no idea that in 2 weeks, everything would change. But what happens next will shock you. Don't go anywhere. Things are about to get intense. 2 weeks later, Maya stood in the bathroom of her tiny apartment, staring at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test with a sense of unreality that bordered on dissociation. This couldn't be happening. This absolutely could not be happening. She had been careful. They had been careful. But apparently, careful wasn't enough. The universe had decided that her life, already teetering on the edge of disaster, needed one more catastrophic push. Maya sank down onto the closed toilet lid, the positive test clutched in her trembling hand. She was pregnant, with Alexander Pierce's baby, a man she'd spent one night with and never seen again, a man who lived in a completely different world. "Maya, honey, are you okay in there?" Her mother's weak voice came from the living room. "Fine, Mom," Maya called back, forcing cheerfulness into her voice. "I'll be right out." She splashed cold water on her face, looking at her reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror. Her face was pale, dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights. She looked like exactly what she was, a 26-year-old woman barely holding it together. A baby. She was going to have a baby. The practical part of her brain immediately started calculating. She'd need prenatal vitamins, doctor's appointments, eventually maternity clothes, time off work when the baby came, childcare when she went back to work. The numbers spun through her head, each one more impossible than the last. She couldn't tell Alexander. The thought flickered through her mind and was immediately dismissed. What would she say? "Hey, remember that magical night we shared? Surprise, you're going to be a father." He would think she was trying to trap him, trying to get money. Men like Alexander Pierce had women throwing themselves at him constantly. He would never believe this was real. No, she would handle this alone. She always handled things alone. Except handling things alone became significantly harder when she lost her catering position the following week. Morning sickness had made her unreliable, and Prestige Catering didn't tolerate unreliability. They thanked her for her service and showed her the door. Then her landlord informed her that he was raising her rent by $300 a month. When she protested that her lease didn't allow that, he shrugged and said she could move out if she didn't like it. Finding another affordable apartment in New York while pregnant and unemployed would be impossible. Her mother's medical bills continued to arrive in the mail, each one a fresh nightmare. The hospital had started calling daily, their voices polite but firm. Payment arrangements needed to be made. Soon, Maya felt like she was drowning in slow motion, watching the water rise over her head while being powerless to stop it. She was standing in line at the free clinic 3 weeks after her night with Alexander when she felt eyes on her. That prickling sensation of being watched. She turned, scanning the crowded waiting room, but saw nothing unusual. Just other people as desperate as she was, waiting for whatever scraps of healthcare they could get. The feeling persisted as she left the clinic with her prescription for prenatal vitamins and a pamphlet about nutrition during pregnancy. She hurried toward the subway, her bag clutched close to her body, telling herself she was being paranoid. She wasn't being paranoid. The knock on her apartment door came at 8 o'clock that evening. Maya wasn't expecting anyone. Her mother was already asleep, exhausted from another round of chemo. Maya approached the door cautiously, peering through the peephole. Her heart stopped. Alexander Pierce stood in the hallway of her decrepit apartment building, looking completely out of place in his designer suit. He was holding a folder, and his expression was unreadable. Maya's hand went instinctively to her stomach, still flat, but carrying his child. He couldn't know. There was no way he could know. She opened the door, keeping the chain lock engaged. "Mr. Pierce, this is unexpected, Maya." His voice was strained. "We need to talk. Please, let me in." "How did you even find me? I've been looking for you since you left." His eyes were intense, almost desperate. "I hired a private investigator. I know I shouldn't have. I know it's invasive, but I couldn't stop thinking about you. That night it meant something to me. I needed to see you again." Maya's mind raced. A private investigator, which meant he might know everything about her financial situation, her mother's illness, maybe even, "Are you going to let me in?" Alexander asked. "Or are we going to have this conversation in the hallway?" Reluctantly, Maya unhooked the chain and opened the door. Alexander entered, and she saw him take in the peeling wallpaper, the ancient furniture, the water stain on the ceiling. He didn't comment on any of it. "Maya, I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to be honest with me." He turned to face her, and his expression made her stomach drop. "Are you pregnant?" The world tilted. Maya grabbed the back of the chair to steady herself. How? My investigator saw you leaving the free clinic. He followed you for a few days. Saw you buying prenatal vitamins, eating saltine crackers, all the signs." Alexander's jaw was tight. "Is it mine?" The question stung, even though it was reasonable. "There hasn't been anyone else, not for over a year before you. So yes, it's yours." Alexander closed his eyes briefly, something like pain crossing his face. When he opened them again, he looked directly at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you're Alexander Pierce, and I'm nobody." Maya's voice rose, 3 weeks of fear and stress pouring out. "Because you would think I was trying to trap you, or extort you, or I don't know, ruin your life. Because this is my problem to handle, not yours." "Your problem?" Alexander's voice was sharp. "That's my child you're carrying, a child you never intended to have. We had one night, Alexander. One perfect night that was supposed to stay in the past. I'm not going to force you into anything." "Force me?" "Maya, I've been searching for you obsessively for weeks. I couldn't stop thinking about you, about that night, about the way you looked at me like I was just a man instead of a bank account." He moved closer, and she could see the emotion in his eyes. "Finding out you're pregnant, it's a shock, yes, but not an unwelcome one." Maya's breath caught. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to be part of this. I want to help you. I want." He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "I don't know exactly what I want, but I know I can't walk away from you, from our child." "Help me how?" Maya asked warily. "Write me a check and disappear? Set up a trust fund and never look back?" Alexander set the folder he'd been carrying on her rickety kitchen table. "Open it." With shaking hands, Maya opened the folder. Inside was a contract. She scanned the pages, her eyes widening with each paragraph. A marriage contract? She looked up at him in disbelief. "You want me to marry you?" "For 1 year," Alexander said. "A contract marriage with clear terms. I'll take care of all your mother's medical expenses. Every bill paid in full. I'll give you a monthly allowance of $50,000. The best prenatal care, the best doctors, the best of everything for you and the baby. You'll live with me Appear with me at public events as my wife. After 1 year, we'll reassess. If you want to leave, you can. You'll receive a settlement that will ensure you and the child are taken care of for life. Maya stared at him. Why? Why would you do this? Because I need a wife. His voice was businesslike, but something flickered in his eyes. My company is going public next quarter. My investors want stability. A family man is more appealing than a bachelor playboy, and because, he paused, because I meant what I said. That night wasn't nothing to me. I want to do right by you, by our child. This is insane, Maya whispered. People don't actually do this. Arranged marriages, contract marriages, that's fiction. It's mutually beneficial. You get security. I get stability. The baby gets 2 parents who are committed to their well-being. Maya's mind whirled. It was insane. It was completely, absolutely insane. Every rational bone in her body screamed at her to refuse, to tell him she'd figure it out on her own. But then she thought about her mother, growing weaker every day because they couldn't afford the best treatments. She thought about the eviction notice tucked in her drawer, the bills piled on the counter, the impossible math of raising a child while working 3 jobs just to survive. I need to think about it, she finally said. Of course. Take your time. Alexander pulled out a business card with his personal number written on it. Call me when you decide. As he turned to leave, Maya's mother's weak voice came from the bedroom. Maya? Who was that? After Alexander left, Maya sat at the kitchen table, staring at the contract until the words blurred together. This was crazy, absolutely crazy, but maybe crazy was exactly what she needed. The choice she makes next will change everything. But first, we need to see what Alexander is really hiding. 3 days later, Maya stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of Alexander's penthouse, wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. A wedding band, a simple platinum band that somehow felt heavier than it should, weighed on her finger. She was Mrs. Alexander Pierce. At least on paper, the marriage ceremony had been quick, clinical, conducted by a lawyer in Alexander's office with 2 employees as witnesses. No flowers, no music, no romance. Just signatures on documents and a brief, awkward kiss that meant nothing. Or, so she told herself. The past 6 weeks had been a whirlwind. The day after seeing the contract, Maya had called Alexander and said yes. What else could she do? Her mother's cancer treatments began immediately the best oncologists in the city. Experimental therapies that might actually save her life. The medical bills that had been drowning her vanished overnight. Alexander had moved her and her mother into the penthouse with surprising gentleness. He'd converted one wing into a comfortable suite for her mother, complete with a private nurse. He'd given Maya her own bedroom because despite the marriage, there were clear boundaries. This was a business arrangement. You look beautiful. Maya turned to find Alexander standing in the doorway. He'd changed into a tuxedo for the charity gala they were attending tonight, their first public appearance as husband and wife. Her stomach churned with nervousness. I look expensive, Maya corrected. There's a difference. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. You looked beautiful in your waitress uniform too. The expensive dress just makes everyone else see what I already knew. The comment was so unexpected, so genuinely kind, that Maya felt her carefully constructed walls waver slightly. This was the problem with living with Alexander. He was too easy to like, too thoughtful, too real. This was supposed to be simple, a business transaction. But nothing about Alexander Pierce was simple. "Are you ready?" he asked, offering his arm. "I should warn you, these events can be brutal. Lots of fake smiles and people trying to figure out our story." "What is our story?" Maya asked, taking his arm. The contact sent that familiar jolt through her, the same one she'd felt the night they met. "We met at a gala. It was love at first sight. We couldn't stay away from each other." His tone was matter of fact, but something in his eyes suggested the lie wasn't entirely a lie. "And the quick wedding? When you know, you know." He looked down at her, and for a moment the pretense fell away. "That part's true, actually. The night I met you, I knew you were different. I just didn't know how to keep you." Maya's heart stuttered. "Alexander." "It's showtime, Mrs. Pierce. Let's give them a good performance." The gala was everything Maya expected, dripping with wealth and barely concealed judgment. She could feel eyes on her constantly, assessing, calculating, wondering. Who was this nobody who had snagged Alexander Pierce? What did she have that made a billionaire marry her so quickly? Alexander kept her close, his hand on the small of her back, introducing her to powerful people whose names she'd only read in newspapers. He was attentive, affectionate, playing the role of besotted husband perfectly, too perfectly. "You're quite good at this," Maya murmured during a rare moment alone. "So are you," Alexander replied. "You're not intimidated by any of them. Should I be? They're just people. Rich people, but still just people." She accepted a glass of sparkling water from a passing server, no alcohol for her these days. "Though I have to say, the women here really want to murder me with their eyes. Jealousy. You have what they all want. Your money, my ring." His eyes were intense. "But they'll never have it. It's yours now." Before Maya could respond, a woman's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "Alex, darling, it's been too long." Maya turned to see a stunning woman approaching, tall, blonde, dripping with diamonds, and radiating the kind of confidence that came from a lifetime of wealth and privilege. But there was something cold in her smile, something predatory. Alexander's entire body tensed. "Victoria, aren't you going to introduce me to your wife?" Victoria's pause before the word wife was deliberate and insulting. She looked Maya up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Though I must say, Alex, the rushed wedding surprised everyone. How long have you two known each other? A month? 2? Long enough," Alexander said curtly. "Maya, this is Victoria Ashford. Victoria, my wife, Maya Pierce." Victoria's smile was venomous. "Pierce, that must sound so strange coming from your background. What did Alex say you did before? You were a waitress?" Maya felt Alexander's hand tighten on her waist, but she kept her expression neutral. "I prefer service industry professional. But sure, waitress works. How charming." Victoria turned her full attention to Alexander. "Alex, we need to talk about the merger. Remember, the one we'd been planning for years before you went and did something so impulsive? There's nothing to discuss, Victoria. That deal is dead. Is it? Victoria's eyes glittered dangerously. Because last I checked, I still hold 15% of Pierce Technologies stock, and I have friends on the board who are very concerned about your recent erratic behavior. The tension between them was thick enough to cut. Maya suddenly understood Victoria wasn't just an ex. She was a threat. We were engaged, you know, Victoria said sweetly, addressing Maya directly. For 3 years, we were going to merge our families, our companies, build an empire together, and then he threw it all away for... She waved a hand dismissively at Maya. Well, that's enough, Alexander said, his voice deadly quiet. Is it? Victoria leaned in closer. Because I have information, Alex. Information about your little wife that might interest the board. Information about where she came from, what she was doing before you rescued her. Information about why you really married her so quickly. Maya's blood ran cold. She knows. Somehow, Victoria knew about the pregnancy. You're bluffing, Alexander said, but Maya could hear the uncertainty in his voice. Am I? Victoria pulled out her phone, showing them a photo. It was Maya, leaving the free clinic. Prenatal care is so important, isn't it, Maya? Especially when you're carrying the heir to a billion-dollar fortune? The world seemed to stop. Around them, the gala continued, oblivious to the drama unfolding. But for Maya, everything had narrowed to this moment, this woman, this threat. Here's what's going to happen, Victoria said, her voice low and dangerous. You're going to leave this gold-digging nobody, Alex. You're going to issue a statement saying the marriage was a mistake. You're going to come back to me. And we're going to proceed with the merger as planned. Or, she smiled cruelly, or I release this information to the press along with a very detailed story about how this waitress trapped you with a pregnancy, how you were forced into marriage. Your reputation will be destroyed. Your company will tank. And the board will have no choice but to remove you. Why? Maya found her voice, though it shook. Why do you care so much? Because he's mine. Victoria hissed. He was always supposed to be mine. We were perfect together, the perfect power couple, and then you stumbled into his life with your sob stories and your convenient pregnancy and ruined everything. Alexander stepped between Victoria and Maya, his body language protective. You have no idea what you're talking about, don't I? Victoria's laugh was sharp. Oh, Alex, always the white knight. Did you really think I wouldn't do my research? I know about her sick mother. I know about the medical bills. I know about the eviction notices. I know this marriage is nothing but a transaction where she traded her body for your money. And when the public knows, they'll crucify both of you. Maya felt sick. Everything Victoria was saying was technically true, even if the context was wrong. The board would see it exactly as Victoria described a gold digger trapping a billionaire. Never mind that Maya hadn't sought Alexander out. Never mind that he'd been the one to propose the arrangement. None of that would matter when Victoria spun her story. So what's it going to be, Alex? Victoria asked. Your empire or your mistake? Maya watched Alexander's face, saw the conflict there. This was his life's work on the line. Everything he'd built, everything he'd worked for. And Victoria was right. If she released that information, the fallout would be catastrophic. She made her decision. "I'll go," Maya said quietly. "Alexander, I'll leave. You don't have to choose. I'll sign whatever papers you need, say whatever you want me to say. Your company is more important than no." Alexander's voice was steel. He turned to Victoria, and his expression was something Maya had never seen before, cold fury mixed with absolute certainty. "You want to know what my choice is? It's Maya. It will always be Maya." Victoria's confident smile faltered. "You don't mean that. Think about what you're saying. I mean every word." Alexander pulled Maya closer to his side. "You can release whatever information you want. You can tell whatever story you choose. Yes, I married Maya quickly. Yes. She's pregnant with my child. Yes, I'm taking care of her mother's medical expenses. And I don't give a damn who knows it. Your board can fire me if they want." Alexander's voice rang out clearly. Several nearby guests had stopped their conversations, sensing drama. "I'll start another company. I'll rebuild from scratch if I have to. But I will not abandon my wife and my child because you're bitter about a relationship that ended years ago." Maya stared at him in shock. This wasn't part of the contract. This wasn't part of the plan. He was supposed to protect his company, his reputation, not throw it all away for her. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life," Victoria said, but her voice wavered. "No," Alexander said, looking down at Maya. "The biggest mistake of my life was letting you convince me that marriage should be about strategy instead of love, that business was more important than happiness. Maya taught me something in one night that you never taught me in 3 years, what it feels like to be seen as a person instead of a portfolio." Victoria's face twisted with rage. "You'll regret this. When your company crashes, when your precious wife leaves you anyway, then I'll deal with it." Alexander's voice was calm. "But I'll deal with it honestly, not by sacrificing the people I care about for appearances." The silence that followed was deafening. Maya could see people pulling out their phones, undoubtedly already texting this scandal to everyone they knew. By morning, this would be everywhere. Victoria stared at them for a long moment, then turned on her heel and stalked away, her threat clear in every line of her body. Alexander turned to Maya, his expression shifting from fury to concern. "Are you okay?" Maya couldn't breathe. What had he just done? He'd chosen her. Actually chosen her. Not for the contract, not for the baby, but for her. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you risk everything?" Alexander cupped her face gently. "Because somewhere between catching that champagne glass and finding out you were carrying my child, I realized something. I'm in love with you, Maya Thompson Pierce. And no amount of money or power or success means anything if I lose you." Around them, camera flashes started going off as the media caught wind of the drama. But Maya barely noticed. She was staring at Alexander, seeing him truly for the first time, not as a billionaire or a contract husband, but as a man who had just risked everything for her. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now?" Alexander smiled, but there was uncertainty in his eyes. "Now we face whatever comes together. If you want to, if you'll have me, not as a contract, as a real marriage." Maya's answer was lost as Victoria's voice suddenly rang out across the ballroom, amplified by the microphone on the small stage where speeches were usually given. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make about Alexander Pierce and his new wife. The explosion is about to happen. What Victoria says next will rock Alexander's entire world. Stay tuned for the fallout that will change everything." Victoria stood on the stage, microphone in hand, her diamond necklace glittering under the chandeliers like a weapon. Every eye in the ballroom turned toward her, phones already raised to capture whatever scandal was about to unfold. Maya's hand found Alexander's, squeezing tight. This was it, the moment everything fell apart. "I'd like to share some interesting information about our host tonight," Victoria began, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "About Alexander Pierce and his whirlwind romance with his new bride, Miss Ashford." A man's voice cut through the room with quiet authority. Maya turned to see an older gentleman in an impeccable suit stepping forward from the crowd. He had silver hair, sharp eyes, and the bearing of someone used to being obeyed. "Richard," Alexander breathed, and Maya heard genuine surprise in his voice. "This is a private conversation, Richard," Victoria said, her confidence wavering slightly. "Is it?" The man, Richard, walked calmly toward the stage. "Because I believe I have some information of my own to share about you, Miss Ashford, and your creative interpretation of facts." Victoria's face paled. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" Richard pulled out a tablet from his jacket pocket. "I'm Richard Chen, Chief Legal Counsel for Pierce Technologies, and I've spent the last 3 weeks investigating some very interesting financial irregularities in the Ashford Corporation. Irregularities that involve insider trading, stock manipulation, and some fascinating offshore accounts." The murmur that went through the crowd was electric. Maya felt Alexander tense beside her, his grip on her hand tightening. "This is ridiculous," Victoria said, but her voice cracked. "You have no proof." "I have a considerable amount of proof." Richard's voice was calm, almost bored, "including emails between you and several board members at Pierce Technologies, discussing ways to force Alexander out of his own company," emails that began, interestingly enough, right around the time you learned about his marriage to Maya. Victoria's face went from pale to ashen. "That's privileged information. It's evidence of conspiracy and corporate espionage." Richard looked directly at her. "The SEC is very interested in speaking with you. In fact, there are 2 federal agents waiting outside to escort you for questioning." The ballroom erupted in shocked whispers. Maya couldn't process what was happening. Alexander looked equally stunned. Victoria's mask finally cracked completely. "You bastard," she hissed at Alexander. "You set me up." "Actually," Richard said mildly, "you set yourself up. Alexander didn't know I was investigating you. I took it upon myself when I noticed some troubling patterns in our board communications. You underestimated how much loyalty Alexander inspires in his people, Miss Ashford. But the pregnancy, the medical bills, all of it is still true. Victoria's voice rose desperately. She's still a gold digger who trapped him. Is she? Richard pulled up something on his tablet and turned it toward the crowd. Because according to these financial records, Alexander Pierce has been anonymously paying Elizabeth Thompson's medical bills for the past 8 months, long before he ever married Maya. Long before that night at the gala, actually. Maya's world stopped spinning. What? Richard turned to her with kind eyes. Alexander saw you at a charity event last year, Maya. You were working as a server and you dropped a tray. You were so worried about losing your job that you tried to clean everything up while crying. Alexander asked the catering manager about you, learned about your mother's illness, your financial struggles. He set up an anonymous donation fund to cover her treatments. That's Maya turned to Alexander, who looked uncomfortable. Is that true? I was going to tell you, Alexander said quietly. But then everything happened so fast, the pregnancy, the marriage. I didn't know how to bring it up without it sounding like I was using it to manipulate you. You were helping my mother. Before you even knew me? Maya's voice cracked. I couldn't stop thinking about you, even after just seeing you for a few minutes. When I saw you again at the gala this year, I thought it was fate giving me a second chance. Alexander's eyes were vulnerable, honest. Everything I said about that night being real, I meant it. The pregnancy complicated things, yes, but it didn't create my feelings. They already existed. Victoria let out a sound of frustration. This is touching. Really? But it doesn't change the fact that Miss Ashford, one of the federal agents Richard had mentioned, appeared at the edge of the stage. We need you to come with us. As Victoria was led away, still protesting, the ballroom remained frozen in shocked silence. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. Then another. Within seconds, the entire room was applauding, but Maya barely heard it. She was staring at Alexander, trying to process everything. You were helping me. All this time. You didn't have to marry me. You were already helping. I wanted to marry you, Alexander said. The contract was just the only way I could think of to keep you close without scaring you away. I knew if I just offered money, you'd refuse. You have too much pride. But a business arrangement, something that benefited both of us. You manipulative. Maya didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You couldn't just tell me you had feelings for me. Would you have believed me? A billionaire declaring his love after one night? You would have thought I was trying to trap you, or that I was delusional. Alexander pulled her closer. I needed time to show you I was serious, that this wasn't about the baby or obligation, that I genuinely wanted you in my life. By tricking me into a contract marriage, it seemed like a good idea at the time. A smile tugged at his lips. Was I wrong? Maya wanted to stay angry, but she couldn't. Because he was right. If he'd just declared his feelings, she never would have believed him. The contract had given her a reason to stay, to see beyond the money and the power to the man underneath. You're an idiot, she finally said. Probably. Alexander cupped her face. But I'm an idiot in love with you. And now that all the secrets are out, I have a question. What? He pulled a small box from his pocket. a different box than the one that held the simple platinum band she wore. Inside was a ring that took her breath away. Not ostentatious, not overly large, but perfect. An emerald surrounded by small diamonds, elegant and unique. Maya Thompson Pierce, will you marry me again? For real this time. No contracts, no arrangements, no pretense. Just two people who understand loneliness choosing each other. Maya looked at the ring. Then at Alexander, then at the room full of people watching them with bated breath. 6 weeks ago, she'd been a struggling waitress who couldn't afford groceries. Now she was standing in a ballroom, pregnant, wearing a designer dress, being proposed to by a billionaire who had just chosen her over his empire. It was insane. It was impossible. It was terrifying. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Again. For real. The applause that erupted was deafening. Alexander slipped the new ring onto her finger alongside the platinum band, then kissed her a real kiss, not the brief, awkward press of lips from their contract ceremony. This kiss was promise and passion and hope all wrapped together. When they finally pulled apart, Maya was laughing through tears. What happens now? Victoria may be facing charges, but she was right about one thing. When this story hits the media tomorrow, it's going to be chaos. Let it be chaos. Alexander grinned. I meant what I said. I'll face it all with you. Your board can accept my decisions or I'll buy them out. His confidence was returning. Besides, Richard seems to have things well in hand. Richard approached them, nodding respectfully. Actually, sir, I've been in contact with the board. Once I explained the situation and provided evidence of Miss Ashford's manipulations, they were quite relieved. Several of them were uncomfortable with her influence but felt pressured to comply. With her gone, I believe you'll find them much more supportive. See? Alexander looked at Maya. Everything's going to be fine. Maya wanted to believe him. But as she looked around the ballroom at all the watching eyes, the recording phones, the whispered conversations, she knew the hard part was just beginning. But Maya was wrong about what the hard part would be. What happens in the next few weeks will test them in ways neither expected. Keep watching to see if their love can survive what's coming. The headlines the next morning were exactly as dramatic as expected. Billionaire's baby mama, gold digger or true love, Victoria Ashford arrested, insider trading scandal rocks Wall Street, Alexander Pierce chooses love over empire. Maya sat in their penthouse, scrolling through article after article, each one dissecting her life, her choices, her motivations. Some were sympathetic, many were not. The comments sections were vicious. You need to stop reading those, Alexander said, gently taking her phone away. They don't know you. They don't know us. They think they do. Maya gestured at her laptop, which displayed yet another opinion piece. Half of them think I'm a calculating gold digger. The other half think I'm a naive victim. Nobody seems to consider that I might just be a person who made complicated choices in an impossible situation. Welcome to life in the public eye. Alexander sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. It gets easier, eventually, does it? No, he admitted. but you learn to care less about what strangers think and more about what matters, and what matters is this. He placed a hand gently on her stomach, where their baby, barely showing at 12 weeks, was growing. This is what matters, you, me, our family. The word family still felt strange to Maya. 6 weeks ago, family had meant just her and her mother, fighting to survive. Now it meant something bigger, more complex, more terrifying and wonderful than she'd ever imagined. "My mother wants to meet you properly," Maya said, not as the billionaire who's paying her medical bills, but as her son-in-law, her actual son-in-law. Alexander smiled. "I'd like that. How is she doing?" "Better. The doctors say the new treatment is working. She might actually," Maya's voice caught, "she might actually beat this. She will." Alexander's confidence was absolute. Elizabeth Thompson is as stubborn as her daughter. Cancer doesn't stand a chance. The following weeks were a whirlwind of adjustment. True to his word, Alexander faced the media storm head-on. He gave interviews explaining his relationship with Maya, their unconventional beginning, and his commitment to their future. He was honest about the contract marriage, about his feelings, about everything. The public response was mixed, but gradually the narrative shifted. It helped that Victoria's arrest had revealed the depth of her manipulation. It helped that Richard released carefully curated evidence showing Alexander's anonymous charity work, not just for Maya's mother, but for dozens of struggling families over the years. But what helped most was when Maya herself agreed to an interview. Against Alexander's protective instincts, she sat down with a respected journalist and told her story. Not the sanitized, carefully managed version, but the real, messy, complicated truth. "I was terrified," she told the interviewer. "I was pregnant, broke, about to lose my home, and watching my mother slowly die because I couldn't afford to save her. When Alexander offered the contract marriage, it felt like a lifeline and a trap all at once. Yes, I married him partly for security, but I also married him because that night we spent together, it was the first time in years I'd felt like myself. Like I was more than just someone's daughter or someone's employee. He saw me, and now?" the interviewer asked. "Do you love him?" Maya had paused, thinking about the question, about morning sickness and Alexander holding her hair back without complaint, about late-night conversations about their fears for their baby, about the way he'd kissed her mother's forehead when she'd gotten good news from her oncologist, about 1,000 small moments that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with genuine care. "Yes," she'd said simply, "I love him. Not his money, not his power, him. The man who remembers how I take my tea, who read every pregnancy book he could find, who cries during those baby commercials when he thinks I'm not looking. That's who I married. Everything else is just noise." The interview went viral. The tide of public opinion turned. Suddenly, instead of a gold digger, Maya was a struggling daughter who'd made impossible choices. Instead of a naive victim, she was a woman who'd taken control of her circumstances. Instead of a scandal, their relationship became a love story. Not everyone was convinced. There would always be skeptics, always be people who saw what they wanted to see. But Maya found she cared less and less about those voices. 5 months later, Maya stood in the newly opened wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, reading the plaque beside the entrance. The Thompson Pierce Foundation for Accessible Art, dedicated to bringing art education to underserved communities. "What do you think?" Alexander asked, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her very pregnant form. "I think my father would have loved this." Maya leaned back against him. "He always said art wasn't for rich people, it was for everyone. Then we'll make sure everyone has access to it." Alexander kissed her temple. "That's what we do now. We use our resources to actually help people, not just accumulate more wealth." It had been Maya's idea to restructure Alexander's philanthropic efforts. Instead of writing checks to established charities and calling it a day, they'd started their own foundation, focused on breaking down barriers to art, to education, to healthcare. They funded art programs in inner-city schools. They provided college scholarships to students like Maya, who'd had to drop out due to family emergencies. They covered medical expenses for families drowning in hospital bills. Alexander's board had been skeptical at first, worried about the impact on profits, but Alexander had been unmovable. "What's the point of building an empire if it doesn't do any good?" he'd asked them. "If we can't use our success to lift others up, then we're just hoarding resources." His conviction, backed by Maya's business acumen, it turned out her father had taught her more about running a company than she'd realized had won them over. Pierce Technologies had restructured, becoming not just profitable, but ethical. It wasn't easy, it wasn't simple, but it was right. "Your mother called," Alexander said. "She and the nurse are having an argument about whether she's allowed to knit booties for the baby. Apparently, the doctor said she needs to rest more." Maya laughed. Her mother's cancer was in remission. The word remission felt like a miracle every time Maya heard it. Let her knit. She's been waiting to be a grandmother for years. She also said to remind you that you promised to stop by this afternoon. Something about teaching you to make her famous pot roast before the baby comes? Because clearly, cooking skills are what I need to focus on in my 8th month of pregnancy, Maya said, but she was smiling. These normal, mundane family moments, they were everything she'd dreamed of, and more. A kick from her belly made her gasp. Alexander's hand immediately went to the spot, his face lighting up as he felt their daughter move. "She's going to be a soccer player," he said with wonder. "Or a kickboxer, or just a baby who doesn't like being squished." Maya countered. "Emily Grace Pierce is running out of room in there." They'd chosen the name together, Emily, for Alexander's grandmother, who'd taught him that money was a tool, not a purpose. Grace for Maya's father, whose middle name it had been, a name that honored their pasts while looking toward their future. "Ready for the opening?" Alexander asked. "The mayor's going to be here soon, along with about 200 donors and art students." Maya took a deep breath. Public speaking still made her nervous, but she'd gotten better at it. She'd had to. Being Mrs. Alexander Pierce meant being a public figure, but she'd decided to use that platform for good. She spoke at schools, at fundraisers, at events for single mothers and struggling families. She told her story, the real story, over and over, hoping it would help others feel less alone. "Ready," she said. "Let's do this." The opening was a success. Students from the programs they'd funded showed their artwork. Speakers talked about the importance of accessible art education. The mayor praised the foundation's work, but the moment Maya would remember most came near the end, when a young girl, maybe 16, wearing a school uniform, approached her nervously. "Mrs. Pierce, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course." Maya led her to a quieter corner, away from the crowds. "What's your name?" "Jasmine. I'm in the art program at my school, the one your foundation funded." The girl twisted her hands nervously. "I just wanted to say thank you. My mum's sick, and we don't have a lot of money, and I thought I'd have to drop out to get a job to help. But then your program started, and they gave me supplies and a scholarship, and I get to stay in school. I get to keep making art." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm so glad. What kind of art do you make?" "Portraits. Mostly. I paint people from my neighborhood. People nobody usually notices, like the lady who sells flowers on the corner, or the old man who sits in the park feeding pigeons. I want to show that everyone has a story worth seeing." "That's beautiful," Maya said, and meant it. "Jasmine, can I give you some advice?" The girl nodded eagerly. "Keep telling those stories. Keep noticing the people others ignore. And when life gets hard, because it will get hard, remember that your struggles don't define you. They're just part of your story. You get to decide how that story ends." Jasmine hugged her impulsively. "Thank you for everything, for sharing your story, for this program, for showing people like me that we matter." As the girl walked away, Alexander appeared at Maya's side. "That was beautiful. That's why we do this," Maya said, wiping her eyes. "Not for the headlines or the recognition, for girls like Jasmine who just need someone to believe in them." "You know what I think?" Alexander pulled her close. "I think you would have been fine without me. You would have figured it out, found a way, because that's who you are. But I'm grateful I get to be here, helping you change the world." "We're changing it together," Maya corrected. "That's the point. No more solitary struggles. No more pretending we can handle everything alone. Together." Alexander agreed, kissing her softly. Always together. 1 year later, Maya sat in the nursery of their penthouse, rocking Emily Grace Pierce to sleep. The room was painted with a mural, a recreation of Caravaggio's use of light and shadow, but adapted to show a family, a mother, a father, and a baby, illuminated against the darkness, the sacred and the profane existing in the same frame. Her mother was downstairs, her cancer still in remission, arguing with Alexander about whether Emily was old enough for her first museum visit. The contract that had brought Maya and Alexander together had long since been shredded, replaced by real vows, spoken at a small ceremony with just family and close friends. Maya's life now bore no resemblance to the desperate existence she'd been living 2 years ago. But she hadn't forgotten that woman, the one who'd been terrified and alone, making impossible choices in an impossible situation. That woman was why she did this work, why she spoke out, why she and Alexander had built something bigger than themselves. As Emily finally drifted off to sleep, Maya thought about the story they'd tell her someday, about how Mommy and Daddy met, about champagne glasses and desperate bargains and choosing love over safety. But mostly, they tell her this: that real wealth isn't measured in money. It's measured in love, in integrity, in using whatever resources you have, whether that's billions or just a kind word to lift others up. That life will test you, challenge you, push you to your breaking points. But if you face it with honesty, courage, and genuine care for others, you'll find that even the darkest struggles can lead to light, that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in desperation but end in hope. And that's the real fairy tale, not being rescued, but choosing to be brave enough to let someone stand beside you as you rescue yourself. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. We share real stories about real struggles and the power of love, integrity, and never giving up. Drop a comment telling us your biggest takeaway from Maya and Alexander's journey. And don't forget to like this video to help spread this message to others who might need to hear it. Remember, your story isn't over yet. The best chapters might still be ahead. See you in the next one.